We'll manage it. It'll be fine. It'll be easy.
Yeah, it'll be a piece of piss.
I mean, the funny thing is as well is I lose a lot of followers,
Undeniable.
but I gain a lot more. So
Yeah, it's because you post.
I don't think I do it that often, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, but it's some of it.
I think I do. I think I do a tasteful amount.
In between the whole, there is provocation still. That might not meet everyone's taste, but there is still hole and there is penis. You do show your penis.
Yeah, I think about artists like Scott Walker, David Bowie, and I'm walking in their footsteps.
David Bowie was a paedophile. David Bowie was a paedophile. Objectively was a paedophile. I suppose I should do the podcast things and say
it's going to be so funny if you. I was going to say it's going to be so funny if you fully uploaded all that. No, let's start again. Sorry, start again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the premiere episode of what will hopefully become a widely cherished and long-running audio program. An iPod broadcast, if you will, called Scroungers. And on this delightful audio program, I am its host, and I am called Eyup Lovely from the internet. Citizen journalist. I believe I was once called some kind of scum lumpen prole jester or a 1920s style anti-Semite, as the lady from Trash Future called me. And I am, of course, joined by my inimitable co-host, the hapless homo, Jacob Venom Snake. Jacob, please say hello.
It's an absolute pleasure to speak to all of you. I can't wait for all of you to eventually come to love me.
Perfect. I'm sure they'll like you. No,
obviously, I'm going to develop a cult of personality around me.
Yeah, hopefully.
What will happen, I think, is that we'll have a sort of like China-Taiwan split.
Yeah.
Where there'll be people who want me dead more than anything.
That's what I'm hoping.
But we'll have a majority, 1 billion Chinese followers who love me.
Obviously, you are a shield from any allegation of homophobia, of which I have received many over the years.
Yeah, exactly. Like I am Britain's gay. So
straight off the bat, nobody can say that this podcast is homophobic.
Absolutely
because
not.
Jacob is gay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Extremely gay. He's wearing at least 3 chains.
2 chains actually, but I've got a silver bracelet as well, which I think inculcates. Is that the word? From all allegations of homophobia.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Jacob is wearing a camouflage Adidas jacket.
Vintage.
Not zipped up in any way. I can see his nipples. He's wearing at least 5 chains. And 2 of the cheapest Sony earbuds I've ever seen in my life.
They're not cheap. These are £200.
It sounds like something you've got on a payment plan, either way.
It wasn't a payment plan, but I did get it on an Amazon discount from the sale. So that's £40 off.
How much did you pay for them?
So they should have been like 210, 220. I ended up paying like 160.
Fuck me. And you can hear the golden audio quality that it provides.
Yeah, it's I can't hear myself. I presume the quality is absolutely gorgeous. It's delicious.
It sounds like you're on an airplane going through a tunnel. I think it adds to the rustic nature of this podcast, which is called
what it's gonna be is that the early episodes. Our future fans will develop a nostalgic fondness for.
Yeah.
There'll be the shit years.
Absolutely.
They'll be like, remember when it sounded like when they were shouting through cups in a train tunnel? We'll have a subreddit where everyone on it we want to fucking kill.
I'll never look at anything on Reddit.
Absolutely not. No.
I barely look at my replies on Twitter. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. People are just angry at me all the time.
No, most of my replies consist of gay serial killers.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of your replies. There's a lot of people there's
a
a lot of people who are just like sexually, physically obsessed with you. And I don't know why, because you just post pictures of your manky knob or threaten to kill yourself.
They're not. I wouldn't say it's manky. I would say it's tasteful. I would say it's Greek. Not in its proportions, but in its aesthetic quality.
It's a subpar knob, if I've ever seen one. It's certainly not the best I've seen.
Fuck off. It is an OnlyFans tier knob.
Did I already say hello? Maybe I already did. But hello and welcome to Scroungers podcast.
Yeah, that was a great introduction, I think. Yeah.
we were meant to have another co-host, but he has disappeared and quite possibly dead.
Yeah,
So we'll see about that.
I'm not kidding. There is a non-zero chance that the Albanian mafia is harvesting his kidneys in the middle of Copenhagen right now.
Yeah, so, shout out to Dave. If you're out there, please come home. Please, come home.
Yeah, we miss you.
But nonetheless, before we go any further with this podcast, I should clarify that I am not responsible for anything that Jacob has said historically on the internet or anything that he says going forward on the program. So if you are expecting me to denounce all the horrendous muck that he's put out into the world, then frankly, consider it done. I blanket denounce everything that he's said from the day he was born until this point. I condemn.
Yeah, that's respectable. I mean, there's a non-zero chance I'll get a police raid soon. But despite my supposed left-wing credentials, I do have one or two friends on the police force. So stick with me. I'm gonna avoid jail time yet.
See, they're already trying to infiltrate us.
Oh, he's infiltrating, all right.
These gay left-wing activist police officers that are in your life that are engaging in 40-man orgies in your front room.
Yeah. Well, front room, bedroom, other bedroom, bathroom.
Yeah. Now, on this program, which is called Scroungers, I should repeat that.
Yeah, make sure you get the brand out there.
Yeah, Scroungers podcast. Hashtag Scroungers podcast. On this program, what we're hoping to achieve is we're going to talk about things that interest us, and you're going to listen to us talk about things that interest us. And, it's going to encompass things that are going on in White England, things that are going on around the world. But ultimately, it shouldn't really matter what we're talking about, because it's going to be like listening to a couple of your mates having a top natter.
What was that thing about Farage was talking about they're making banter illegal in pubs? Well, this is where banter is going to be legal. If you like banter, we are the kings of banter.
This is a certified banter podcast.
It's the banter podcast.
Every pub's a parliament. I'm not particularly clever, and Jacob certainly isn't.
And I'm even dumber.
Yeah, but in Britain, every journalist is a psychotically deranged sicko, and the number one podcast in the country is hosted by an MI6 agent and a war criminal, and the kooky irreverent offerings aren't much better. So here we are. Arise, Sir Scroungers. Also, I briefly died from fentanyl last week.
Yeah. Depending on how this podcast goes, you might wish you have permanently died.
I mean, I kind of feel like I've died and entered a completely different timeline where I think it's acceptable to start a podcast. But I've decided I can't die again until I've said my piece. With or without our future prospective maybe co-host. It's time for lads like us to say our piece, a view from the sewer, if you will. Fuck the fucking Novara medias. Fuck the fucking trash futures. Fuck the fucking lot of them. All right? We're doing something different here.
The Arambastanis.
Yeah, the Arambastanis, the fucking Milo Edwards. Go and get yourself fucked. All right? We're doing things a little bit different. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's probably going to be shite for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 episodes. But it's a journey, and it would be the joy of our lives if you would join us.
Yeah, it would be a pleasure. And we hope to provide you many hours of entertainment as you go on your walks, as you play GTA 6, as you murder prostitutes.
You wash the dishes. We're going to give you, prospectively, tens of thousands of hours.
Yeah, literally.
This will be going until the 2070s, so long as we can get at least, £100 a month each.
We need enough to pay the bills.
Yeah, now US AID has run out. we really are scrounging.
Yeah, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're fucked with it, that.
Yeah.
They might kick me out of my mansion soon.
You Bolton mansion.
Yeah, the Bolton mansion.
You live next to Peter Kay. Peter Kay's not looking good these days.
No,
He's not looking good at all.
I genuinely think he might have AIDS.
Yeah, I possibly, it's at least...
That actually might be because of me. I don't go into Bolton. I don't go into Bolton town centre often. I'm more of a Manchester, Salford club boy. But a couple of times I've ended up in like some of Bolton town centre's prestigious bars, geared off my tits, swallowing shots. For all I know, I might have paused up Peter Kay.
Just run into Peter Kay. He'll do anything in a Bolton pub bathroom. Who remembers chemotherapy?
Who remembers bug chasing? Do you remember garlic bread? Do you remember garlic bread when you're eating garlic bread?
Who remembers prep? Who remembers prep? Who remembers prep? You take it. You take prep before you were raw dogging 40 or 50 swings.
Who remembers the diarrhea you got from prep? Who remembers shitting yourselves in the Isle of Asda? No, my mum once saw Peter Kay in Asda.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's mental.
He looked miserable, so she only took a stealth picture of him.
Peter Kay is largely anonymous.
He might as well be dead.
I know someone whose mum bought tickets to see Peter Kay. I feel like someone I know's mum bought tickets to see Peter Kay in like 2019, and it was rescheduled till like 2023. And they were paying out the arse to see it. So fuck knows what's going on with Peter Kay. But he can't be in a good place.
No, he's a pos pig. That's the only explanation.
Yeah. He's been getting way too stuck into the Bolton gay scene.
The Bolton gay scene, he's getting spunked to thin.
The people listening to this podcast won't even know who Peter Kay is.
90% of them won't. 90% of them won't.
They think we're just harassing an innocent man. But you need
all right, can I make it? Wait. Hey, can I make a plea?
Yeah.
All right. So I haven't seen it in 20 years, but on the recommendation of 7-year-old Jacob, I recommend that you all find and watch Peter Kay's Phoenix Nights.
Yeah. I
remember that being very, very funny.
Yep, I will double that recommendation. Peter's good when he's at his peak.
He is. Yeah, he was. He was genuinely hysterical.
Peter Kay, I guess, for the international audience, is just your hack comic. He talks about garlic bread.
Garlic bread? Garlic bread? Garlic? Bread?
He talks about why the mums buy crap pop.
Why do mums buy crap pop? Why do mums buy crap pop? Why? Why do they buy it?
He talks about dunking biscuits in your cup of tea.
I swear to God now, you never get used to that. As you get older and you dip your biscuit in it, because you don't know when it's going to fall.
That kind of thing. It was my auntie's ringtone was his routine about garlic bread for a while. It was insufferable. He's just he's a hack comic. He's the hack comic. He if not invented it, then certainly refined it into an art form.
Actually, I did meet him once.
You met him once where?
It was when I was a little kid. You know when they were filming Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere?
That is crazy that you met Peter Kay.
He drove down my street that I lived on, and my dad dragged me out in the morning or whatever it was, and I was in my pajamas, and we went up to the street to see him, and he saw me, and he looked at me and went, "Put some fucking clothes on."
How old were you?
I might have been too old, to be honest. I might have been like 6 or 7.
I don't know if I believe this. I feel like if I mentioned Peter Kay and your first thought would be, oh, I met him when I was 6 or 7. He told me to put more clothes on.
I didn't meet him per se. He was driving the caravan down the street and he shouted out, "Put some fucking clothes on."
What were you wearing?
Pajamas.
What? Just
Yeah,
pajamas?
just pajamas.
Well, are you in Max and Paddy?
No. But they drove down my actual street, like the street that I lived on. If you watch the TV show, you can see the street.
There's in Peter Kay's famous comic relief sketch, "Is This the Way to Amarillo?" he is walking to Amarillo, presumably, with Sir Jimmy Savile at one point. So if you look at it on YouTube, he is helpfully cropped out. It's an interesting artifact of BBC Doom.
Do you remember when Jimmy Savile rocked up on Big Brother?
Jimmy Savile got his renewed police interest from Surrey Police came as a result of his appearance on Big Brother.
Really?
Yeah, with the season, he was a guest star on the season of Celebrity Big Brother that George Galloway was on.
Yes, he was. He was. Yeah, our future podcast guest.
Yeah, we need to interview Galloway at some point.
We absolutely need to.
Galloway kisses him and says, "The legendary Jimmy Savile."
This is the legendary Jimmy Savile.
The legendary Jimmy Savile.
But his victims were
He
watching.
eats children for his breakfast, you see.
Never tasted
Syrian hummus or shakshuka. Don't care for it. They eat rice for their breakfast, you see.
His victims were watching his appearance on Celebrity Big Brother, and they were pissed off, and they contacted the police, rightfully so.
Yeah.
As a consequence of that, I like to imagine that they contacted the police as soon as George Galloway called him the legendary Jimmy Savile. But George Galloway, he's wearing a Jimmy Savile wig.
For Ruler's Fix-It gift, each housemate received a goodie bag that includes a trademark Sir Jimmy tracksuit, cigar and wig.
Can you look any prettier? Can you get any more pretty?
He's dressed up like Jimmy Savile for much of the time. They sing the Jim will fix it theme. So it's a tough season to watch, but I thoroughly enjoy it. Pete Burns is on there. Pete Burns.
Yeah, God, he did well for himself, didn't he?
He did well for himself.
He did. He had a really great life.
He'd be a Workers' Party candidate if he was still alive. I'm sure.
Is he dead?
Yeah, I think he died a few years ago. Pete Burns. Although, to be fair, I also believe that Pete Burns, on that season of Celebrity Big Brother, is the only one who voices any kind of trepidation about Jimmy Savile. He's the only one who says, "Well, have you heard about,
Well, I wonder why he died prematurely then.
Yeah.
The Savile boys got him.
Long Savile, I think.
Long Savile, yeah. Well, do you remember? Have you played Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yes.
Do you remember the vocal cord, Paris? It's like that with Jimmy Savile. If you start speaking ill of him,
Chinaman, Uyghurs, Arab, Chinaman, Turkmen, Albanians, Uyghurs, Chinaman, Ukrainian, Chinaman. They eat rice for their breakfast, you see.
Is your phone just on the floor?
No, it's on the table.
No, nobody typically records a podcast with this poor equipment. You are using your iPhone 9.
iPhone 15 Pro Max. That's not too bad. I don't think that's too shabby.
Yeah, you've got some shocking internet as well in Bolton. I'll tell you that.
I am never in Bolton. I'm never in Bolton.
If you go to Bolton, you'll see Jacob out and about.
Find me.
I've heard the way you talk.
Find me at the White Hotel. Find me at Hidden. Find me at the Warehouse Project. Find me at the DBA. You will never find me in Bolton. Fuck Bolton.
Have you been to the Warehouse Project?
Yeah.
Did you see Angela Rayner and Julia Fartley-Brewer? She
was there.
They went there. They were peeled off their heads.
That's great.
Yeah, it's nasty. They were taking pictures there. It's not right. I never went to warehouse projects. I went to Park Life for a couple of years, maybe 2017, 2018. I seen
Oh, yeah.
Matty Healy and Andy Burnham
Really?
were on the main stage, and Matty Healy was crying because the Manchester bombing had happened a few days prior,
The one that MI5 let happen.
the one that I was at as well. I was in a train above the Manchester bombing when it happened.
I was going to say, why were you at an Ariana Grande concert with teenage girls?
I was going from Bradford to Liverpool, and the train stopped for fucking ages. And the arena is connected to the train station,
Yeah.
and I was just stuck there. And then eventually, when it started moving, a woman got on side talking about saying that someone had a gun. I don't imagine so. The previous 20 minutes had been two young Scouse girls saying, "Oh, do you know, how much do you fucking think this ticket's going to go for now?" They were talking about the speakers having exploded or something because they heard some bangs, which I imagine was the bomb from the foyer. And then when I got to Liverpool, it was just armed police everywhere, lots of crying young girls wearing dangerous women caps. It was really, really odd to be there. I've since seen that the British Alex Jones analog. I don't actually know what his fucking name is, but he has been prosecuted for denying that it happened.
What, the bombing?
Yeah, some of the things that he says about other events, I think there is a thread of truth to, but the Manchester bombing did happen.
I mean, the bomber was known to MI5, wasn't it?
The bomber was known to MI5, MI6. He was,
he was known to MI5. Yeah.
The British-led NATO effort in Libya, I believe, had trained him against Gaddafi, and
Interesting.
MI6 had facilitated his return to the UK.
Interesting.
There's a lot of strange things that go on around the Manchester bombing. The inquiry,
Things that make sense when you consider our foreign policy.
the inquiry had testimony from the bomber's friend, who basically said that he had been routinely involved with the British security services from in Libya until and during his time in Britain.
Yes.
But you know, the inquiry said that MI6, MI5 were a stone wall. I think didn't provide kind of information they wanted. He had been the Manchester bomber had been reported wearing that big backpack that he ultimately exploded as suspicious, I believe, between the security as well, and they didn't act on it. I think there's a lot of questions about the Manchester bombing. Again, Manchester bombing happened during the 2017 general election. The only thing that I don't think they could have anticipated is Corbyn gave a speech after the Manchester bombing where he effectively said that it is the boomerang effect of British foreign policy. So we have been fucking about in pockets of the world, planting disarray and conflict and bombing the shit out of them. And this is the inevitable backlash from that. This is the blowback. And after that, all of the polling suggested that the British public agreed with that. Corbyn gave that speech against all his advisors, and I think it very much surprised the powers that be, and they weren't going to let that happen again.
Yeah. Like Corbyn was always so consistently on the point with these matters.
Yeah.
And it's like when you come to sort of like political, if you want to call it terrorism, whatever you want to call it, the point is that if you decide to terrorize a significant portion of the planet, if you want to terrorize millions and millions of people, not necessarily is their ideology always going to be coherent in their response. Some of them are going to be a little deranged. They're going to be a little fanatical. Yeah. But it's like, I mean, you know where I'm coming from. It's like
I think in wake of all that we now know about the Manchester bombing, is laughable to suggest that the British security services didn't know about it. You know, he was going to mosques. He was calling around local mosque that he could find, saying, "Oh, do you want to go blow up Ariana Grande's concert?"
And she's not that bad of a singer.
Next week, every single Muslim who encounters this guy at the mosque they all called the police and nothing happened, obviously. It is very much Brother Barry kind of
Yeah, Brother
behaviour.
Barry, yeah.
Do you want to go blow up an Ariana Grande concert next week?
What's your name?
Hassan Malik. The Mal.
The Mel.
Yeah.
Nice little stump back there.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You're a total piece of shit, mate. You're worse than the specially trained rapists they use in Guantanamo.
You what?
Yeah, you're not ignorant like them. You know you should be doing something.
I think it had been something of a mainstay under Corbyn that there were terror attacks in Britain during the general elections. And obviously very interesting that it didn't happen during the 2024 general election when Starmer was running.
Yeah. The thing is, and what is so genuinely terrifying about the moment we live in is that we live in a moment of genuine mass surveillance. It doesn't have to be manually operated.
In Britain, especially as well. Britain in many ways is the testing ground for a lot of this stuff.
Exactly. So you have these automated systems, these algorithmic systems, and then obviously to the extent that it's manually operated.
Yeah.
You can't really do these things without coming up on the radar. And if they consider you a danger, they will either pursue you or not. And if they decide not to, it's because they want you to be pushed in a certain direction.
I mean,
they want you to.
Do you think you have a MI5 file? I would assume so. From some of the shite that you've posted on the internet.
At this point, I might have a couple folders. I don't think I am.
I would assume so.
I don't think
just on the basis that you've posted things that are extracurricular to the British state's foreign policy, but you've also posted things that suggest that you're willing to just immediately kill yourself. So I would assume that sets off a little red light in MI5 somewhere.
If I had my DMs open on Twitter, I would probably have a really good idea of how interested the British state is in me.
I mean, I assume that I have a file. I assume that they know what my name is.
Shut up. They have a group chat dedicated to you.
Yeah, I mean, I called Morgan McSweeney.
Hello, is this Morgan McSweeney?
Who's this?
Sorry, I was just calling to see if you knew anything about Keir Starmer having an extramarital affair and ejaculating inside his mistress. It led to a pregnancy. Hello? Morgan?
What's your name?
Sorry?
What's your name?
My name? Hello?
I don't think it's difficult to trace that phone number. I don't think that's particularly difficult. I assume that they know who I am.
100%.
There's no purpose to doxing me because I am nobody. I think is
yeah. It's a risk assessment type of thing.
You can't kill me. I'm already dead. You know.
Yes.
I've said before, my Muslim friend, was going on a family camping trip to Wales, and on the way back, they got stopped by police who thought they were going to a secret Islamist camp in Wales. It was very much a Fall Iron scenario, but you would presume, I mean, they weren't. But you would presume that this means that they had some kind of file with the security state for being Muslims. You know, Muslims who don't necessarily agree with all of the foreign policies of Great Britain.
Yeah, all of that will be on record.
But I would assume that a significantly larger proportion of the British public.
Yeah,
there is at least
some guy who will inform and tell them
surface information in some kind of MI5 database somewhere, probably administrated by Paul Mason.
I think what's so terrifying about the current moment we live in is that you think about. I always go to the Russian Revolution and how Stalin specifically funded the revolution with his bank robberies, where you could rob a small-town bank and then drive away. And they're not going to find you. They have no idea. They're not going to track you by your fingerprints, by CCTV, and all that exists. You can go from town to town, rob. And now you exist in a moment where every single facet of your entire life is catalogued collected, stored.
You see, in London, they have these AI-assisted recognition technology where they are just randomly... Obviously, AI is massively racist for whatever reason in facial recognition because it's made by white people.
Yeah.
And they're just selecting random black people and saying, "Oh, you match this JPEG in our database of a black criminal, and that means we get to strip search you, even though you're a 9-year-old girl." These types of things, these technologies for surveillance, are obviously all piloted basically in London, in the parts of London where there are black people. A lot of the time, these technologies are basically perfected in Israel.
Yes.
You know, these kinds of things where it is just this massively racist technology that is used to, you know, ascribe a numerical value to your face and decide whether you're a terrorist or not and worthy of your human rights. And that, I believe, is the heart of Starmer's Britain.
That is the future.
This is banal Hitlerism. I considered a long time ago that someone somewhere is writing an MI5 file on me just because I press the right keywords on Twitter, and I imagine it is the case for a significantly larger amount of people than believe so.
Jeremy Corbyn and his supporters were responsible for a new culture of misogyny, abuse, and anti-Semitism. His choice of words seems to fit in with a broader pattern. And just a couple of days ago, there was this weird interaction with Susanna Reid on Good Morning Britain. There have been, clearly, a number of instances where supporters of Jeremy Corbyn have said terrible things online. And I'm not trying to make any kind of excuses for them. Yeah. It seems to me the serious issues of misogyny, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, ableism are instrumentalised when useful and ignored when convenient. It's almost as if some of the people talking about these issues don't really care about dealing with them at all.
I'm just thinking about it now. Oh, we're gonna have a beautiful life, aren't we, Eyup? This is our glow up hour. This is what we've suffered for.
This is what we've suffered for. I genuinely believe this. I think, regardless of the quality of any of this content, I think we could absolutely fucking scare the living out of this.
So long as I'm guessing yours will be, so long as my audio quality is salvageable.
Oh, I don't even think that matters. I really don't. I don't think anything matters. I've listened to a fucking trash future. It's appalling. These fucking toffs from fucking Oxbridge, obviously on the fucking MI6 payroll. He went to fucking Russia. Oh, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian in Russia now. Obviously, to become a stand-up comedian on fucking state television in Russia as a British person, obviously you have to interface somewhat. As a graduate from Cambridge, you have to interface somewhat with the security services. All right, that's all I'm saying. And you know the talk at Chatham House obviously solidifies that. In my mind, personally, for me, that the entirety of Trash Future is on the payroll of MI6.
When they were unethically, unlike us, when they were unethically raising £500,000 a year from their Patreon. Are you saying that?
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's £60,000 a month. It's £720,000 a year. They have a spin-off program hosted by the daughter of the former Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, the former fucking federal agency head for state property management, when they were selling off everything, when they were stripping the copper out of the walls of the Soviet Union. That's... God!
Is she called Olga?
Yes! And
Is she called...
Yes, and you look at the fucking Wikipedia page, she's a stand-up comedian. Olga Koch was touring Olga Koch Prawn Cocktail, brackets, how I went to Japan with a stranger I met at a wedding. Olga Koch was touring. Olga Koch comes from money. What? That's fucking... That's understating it a bit. Comes from money. Her dad's a fucking oligarch.
Her dad is a Call
Her dad is a bad man.
Her dad is a Call of Duty villain. Her dad killed 5 million Russians.
At least.
At least.
bare hands. And this is the fucking.
This is what we're talking about with Scroungers. £60,000. I could literally become the conqueror of half of Britain.
Milo does his fucking backroom impression of a vague northern person, and then a backroom impression of a vague Italian person, and they go, this must be funny because he went to Cambridge. And the absolute gall of that trash future girl who called me a 1920s style anti-Semite, the absolute gall of her to be earning God knows how much money and to be fucking begging.
Specifically, she made the point of you doing like C-tier Felix Wraith when that's her entire personality.
To be specific, to this woman called me a 1920s style anti-Semite for saying that Jews are not biologically smarter than Arabs. This woman called me a 1920s style anti-Semite for saying that Jews are not biologically smarter than Arabs. That is madness. 60 grand a month, 60 grand a month, 60 grand a month.
Yes, exactly.
It's worked fucking nice for him. You know, it's worked fantastic.
And it's going to work better for us.
Normal world.
Normal world? Oh, this is the normal world.
Sounds like the normal island.
The normal world.
But nonetheless, yeah, this is a great podcast. This is significantly higher quality than whatever we're going to put out. But that's why they make the big bucks. And, you know, to be clear, but any of the Trash Futureslanders are not extend to any of their guest stars.
No, of course not. It's specifically
they are misinformed.
We only run November, Milo.
We assume that the guest stars of Trash Future are misinformed. We wouldn't assume
they've been misinformed.
Yeah, this all I'm saying is take a hard look at them. And maybe, think about them. But nonetheless, we have no qualms with any guest of Trash Future.
Absolutely not.
To our show.
In fact, if there are the better members of Trash Future who want to become our slaves and they want to be a part of our enterprise, maybe we could introduce them.
We would welcome them onto our show with open arms.
Yes, absolutely. That's literally exactly what I was saying. I'm sure there's a couple members of the podcast that we can ingratiate, we can bring in, and we can treat with kindness and warmth.
If there's any members of Trash Future that have no relationship with the security services, if you would like to message us, you could very, very quickly defect to Scroungers podcast, and we would never criticize you ever again. We're a cheap date. We're a cheap date around here.
Yeah, I'm a slut.
All right, let's not. But nonetheless, we would welcome you with open arms, and we'd maybe even teach a regional accent so that you're less obvious.
Yeah, you don't sound like a tough cunt.
So that you don't sound like a tough cunt.
I have been in a gay bar with the village people throbbing out YMCA within earshot of Lenin's tomb.
Doesn't pay to try. All the smart boys know why. It doesn't mean I didn't try. I just never know why.
I've never heard this song in my life.
I love that track, honestly.
I've never heard it in my life. I assume it's a gear thing.
It was on The Sopranos.
I don't know when you sang it, it sounded like a gear thing.
Because that's my voice.
Whatever. This is the premiere episode of hit podcast Scroungers. You are listening to the premiere episode of hit podcast Scroungers, hosted by internet user Eyup Lovely and hapless homo Jacob Venom Snake. And with all of the preamble out of the way, where else could we possibly begin other than with Sir Keir Rodney Starmer's rotten pedo Labour Party? It's been a rough month for Sir Rodney Starmer's rotten pedo Labour Party just a few weeks ago. The 66-year-old former defence minister under Tony Blair, head of the Jewish Labour movement under Corbyn, big anti-Semitism hoax guy, Ivor Caplin, big Starmer media delegate, who was on GB News just a week before the event that I'm going to describe, fell for a paedophile hunting group, their decoy, on social media, who had somehow convinced him that they were a 15-year-old boy and that they were going to meet him at Brighton train station. I suppose the wider pretext for this is that in Britain there's a phenomenon of paedophile hunting groups, but it's not really like the American analogue. It's not like Lil Pump feeding nonce hot chip and shaving their head. Usually in Britain they target people with learning disabilities and call them a nonce on camera.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Dirty nonce.
Oh, it's a give a fucking nonce, mate.
But this group that caught Ivor Caplin seemed to have caught their white whale. Looking at Ivor's Twitter feed, I think, which we'll get into in a minute, I think you can kind of deduce how they caught him. Ivor had seemingly fallen for one of these pedo hunter groups, and they live streamed it on Facebook, their sting operation. In the video, it becomes apparent that Ivor thought he had been speaking to a 50-year-old boy. He hadn't. He'd been speaking to these nonce hunters, and he had sent this 15-year-old boy sexually explicit images of him and his partner. And he told this decoy, this nonce hunter, that he was going to meet him at Brighton train station. The whole thing is very, very odd. The pedo hunter goons have caught him either side against the wall. The whole thing is arms. And they are mostly berating him. And, Ivor is telling some of the most atrocious lies I've ever heard in my life. He's saying that he had just intended to go to the train station because he wanted to say hello to this young person and then go to the beach. He initially says that he wasn't intending anything. He wasn't intending to meet anyone. And then he later says that he was intending to just say hello before he went and met his partner and went to the beach. He is atrocious at lying.
He's not really skilled at it.
He degrades into this Labour MP, like PR training kind of thing, where he dances around the question but never answers it. And the pedo hunters are having none of it. They're constantly berating him. And this would be quite a monumental story by itself. It would be, quite endemic of the Labour Party and Keir Starmer's career of these constant paedophiles. But it is made all the more interesting by Ivor Caplin's social media activity around the time and indeed prior. His Twitter activity is, I would say, inexplicable.
Yeah, his Twitter activity is genuinely bizarre because it's like he has a mixture in a way that may be reminiscent of my own Twitter usage, but in a much more depraved, awful way. He mixed his actual professional political career, his politics, his retweets, his actual life with his sexual adventures. And what was so weird about that is that you would get him retweeting a Keir Starmer speech, and then he would mix that with him replying to a 3-foot porn star dwarf, like a gay dwarf. Or some Instagram twink with this perfect tiny little body, and he's replying to them saying, "I'm bottom, meet me in London at whatever time," and you can fuck me. And he's doing this openly. He doesn't have an alt account. He doesn't have any differentiation. He doesn't try to separate it. He's doing this on his main account. The main account, like Keir Starmer follows, the main account that like all of these like major politicians follow.
The Crown Prosecution Service follows, that Alistair Campbell follows,
Yes.
the Chancellor of the Exchequer follows. All of these people follow this account.
And it's not like yours.
Ivor Caplin.
It's not like yours truly, Jacob, where I get drunk at midnight and I start like maybe making replies to twinks or whatever. This is a Labour politician, and he's doing it on his account that is followed by serious politicians.
This is a former defence minister, former veterans minister.
Yes, veterans minister. He was veterans minister.
Who is posting these banal Starmerite talking points in between the strangest gay porn you've ever seen in your life. Primarily dwarves, I think should be.
He liked his dwarfs. He liked his dwarfs, yeah.
I got a few of them. He was replying to these sort of gay porn engagement farming accounts, but with a particular...
Which are all over Twitter now.
Yeah, like Jacob. He had been replying to all of these engagement farming gay porn accounts, but he had a particular fixation on dwarves.
Oh, yeah, for some reason.
He was replying to a dwarf that said, "Would you talk to me even though I'm 3'11", with his cock out?" And Ivor Caplin responded, full caps, "Yes! Yes!"
He was very enthusiastic.
He responded to one, "This is my favourite. Get me bread, raw, good, thick, and cock. Great fun. Happy for you to message and meet up."
Do you think he watched Twin Peaks?
I would doubt it.
Do you think he saw the midget in Twin Peaks and he was like, "Yeah, this is my guy. I need a taste of him"?
Somehow, I think that he was fixated on dwarves because he is a paedophile who likes small children.
Yeah, probably. I want to clarify that it doesn't necessarily mean that your attraction to dwarfs makes you a paedophile.
No, of course not. It doesn't make you a paedophile to be attracted to 3'11" dwarf.
But in his instance, it absolutely does.
In the instance of Ivor Caplin, obviously that means he was trying to find some kind of surrogate for a child.
Yes, yeah.
Because he is a paedophile.
Because he's a paedophile. Because he kept replying to like very underage looking twinks.
He responded to one saying, "Hello, very nice body and nice cock too. I am bottom and in London from 8th January. Hope we could have a good time together."
Can we talk about the main point? He didn't have any riz. He did not have any riz. He was not charismatic. He was not.
No, he didn't. He didn't at all. He had zero riz.
Yes, I am bottom. Yes, I am bottom.
I am bottom. That was his most popular refrain. He was just begging dwarves to breed him. He responded to one twink with, "Yes, I would be your sub bitch for you." But it's important it's important for the reader to understand that Ivor Caplin, he was responding these insane requests to be bred by dwarves. He was retweeting them in between his banal Starmerite political observations.
Yeah, he wasn't subtle. He didn't try to hide it at all. And
followed by Alistair Campbell, the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
They all followed him.
The Crown Prosecution Service.
Yeah.
Every Labour MP. So someone saw this. I presume this is why the pedo hunters were alerted to him, is because he was just daily tweeting, "I am a paedophile. I am a paedophile." The nonce hunters mention it to him as much. They said, "What is going on?" They're saying, "You've been tweeting some strange material on your official account as a former defence minister under Tony Blair." And he just doesn't seem fazed by it at all. I don't know if he understands what a retweet does. In between these, there was occasionally a captionless, confused front camera facing selfie of himself, and he just looked in pain. So I assume that in the future we will be seeing the headline: Ivor Caplin unable to testify due to the advanced state of his dementia.
Yeah, they'll use that on him.
Very much a Greville Janner type scenario. I assume that they're just going to call him that he's demented. But to be clear, in the pedo sting, he seems lucid. In Britain, you have to understand these pedo hunters. The one in Leeds is atrocious for it, but I've seen these pedo hunters entrap people with learning disabilities.
Yeah, like disabled.
With people clearly with dementia. Ivor Caplin was not one of these scenarios. He was doing his media training the whole time. He was reverting
the whole time,
as if he was on ITV or something.
Jeremy Paxman.
Yeah. Ivor Caplin was accused of sexually assaulting a young homeless person at a hostel in June last year. And the police ultimately decided that no further action was required because, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
I would be extremely shocked if the top brass of the Labour Party, indeed the rank and file Labour Party, didn't know about this. I've seen people posting about how immediately after his arrest, the first time, he was on the timeline trying to groom dwarves and retweeting it. So everyone saw it. Everyone was aware of it. And, you know, the big punchline of all of this is that after Ivor Caplin was caught by these pedo hunters for trying to arrange a sexual encounter with a child, he immediately, despite the fact that millions of people had seen what he's done, despite the fact that hundreds of thousands of people were talking about what he'd done, he immediately logged on his account and started doing it again.
Yeah, he had no shame. He immediately went back to it.
He deleted his account 24 hours later, but he immediately started messaging these dwarves, immediately replying to all of these twinks. Just no shame whatsoever. Basically, I refuse to believe, given the quantity of people who followed him at the very least, the suspension that he had, the stories in the news that didn't name him, but the stories locally in the news when he was suspended. I refuse to believe that these people didn't know about it. I absolutely refuse to believe that they didn't know about it. And it's very telling.
They absolutely did.
It's very telling that you can only read about this in the right-wing British press, because, you know, none of the fucking Starmerite media will touch it. But it has been an endless Paedogeddon. And obviously the link with the Jewish labour movement, the Corbyn sabotage, the anti-Semitism scam bullshit, all of that. It is just so egregious. I think Felix Peterman's close personal friend of mine. I don't think he knows Jacob because I'm the bright star here.
Well, I would say he's my best friend.
I think Felix said that it would be easier at this point to just assemble a list of Corbyn saboteurs who aren't nonces. And I very much agree with that. The sheer quantity of the demons who sabotaged the one hope for change in Britain, unmasked for what they are in the succeeding years, it is staggering.
It is staggering.
And the British media are just utterly uninterested in it. With the Ivor Caplin thing, it's not in any of the media. The BBC have never run an article about it. I don't believe the Guardian have run an article about it. It's just left the right-wing press to pick at the bones.
It's completely under the radar. Because at the end of the day, he's Zionist. And
yeah, of course. And it threatens their access, and press just don't give a shit. If you talk about this, it's dismissed as right-wing smears, but it's the same as Starmer and Savile.
Yeah.
You know, the unthinkable amount of Labour MPs with sexual assault, sexual misconduct allegations. Politico reported last year, maybe the year before, that members of all parliamentary party groupings were engaging in sex trafficking in countries with very dubious age of consent laws.
Ooh.
I believe one Labour MP identified as having a particular penchant for young Russian girls. And, you know, look, I think since at least, you know, Second World War, this type of thing has happened where foreign dignitaries are provided with prostitutes of any kind.
Yeah, certain prostitute.
Of any age, ultimately for, you know, whether they need it blackmail purposes or whatever else. In any country. I do not doubt that we do this for foreign dignitaries.
Oh, they must not have terrifying about it.
It's breathtaking to me that in this country, a publication like Politico, ostensibly a mainstream, credible publication, can report that a Labour MP as a penchant for young Russian girls and is engaging in sex trafficking, it's incredible to me that can be reported and then it's not a thing in the British press.
But the entire point of the British press is that they exist as a control mechanism for what you are allowed to know.
The question I have is, what else do they know that isn't headline news? It's much more of a closed circuit than other countries, I feel. Because
definitely, it's much more incestuous.
Yeah, of course. There's a Paedogeddon every week, and the press don't give a shit. I feel like there is an implicit agreement in the British press that you don't go below a certain octave of criticism.
Yes,
because they're all in on it. Is the best I can understand. No, I'm not saying that the entirety of British Parliament is paedophiles.
Just most of them,
but they're all dubious in character, is what I would say. They all have compromisable qualities, I think, and at least in America,
they don't want to be the person that rats on it. They don't want to
be absolutely. But at least in America, I presume because of the size, there is at least one or two publications that cares about this type of thing, whereas in Britain, nobody cares about it. It just doesn't reach the front page anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's not even a topic of discussion in the wider world. Politico, fucking nobody in Britain reads that. Nobody in Britain reads Politico. I mean, perhaps it is only me, but nonetheless, in another country, you would hope that it at least reaches the 24-hour news cycle. In Britain, it is just another day at the races. We have a weekly Paedogeddon, and it never, ever, ever ends.
Fucking hell.
There's a family in my constituency. Every night, cannabis smoke creeps in from the street outside into their children's bedroom, aged 4 and 6. That's not low level. It's ruining their lives.
But to close out this electric premiere episode, this is it's a godsend of an article in the Times that gave us a unique insight into one of our favourite ever people from the British realm of politics. I'm talking, of course, about Paul Mason. Paul Mason. How would you describe Paul Mason, Jacob?
I would describe him as sort of like, imagine. Did you ever watch the Spy Who Came In From the Cold?
Yeah.
Imagine something 1,000 times more pathetic and washed up and useless, critically useless. Imagine the most dickless, worthless piece of shit of all time. Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Spy Who Came In From the fucking chill of February. Just fuck this worthless piece of shit. This drunk, spice addict piece of shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. I would maybe describe him as racist literary pornographer.
Your cunt will be raw.
Your cunt will be raw. Former economics editor at BBC News. And I suppose, rather than me just saying your cunt will be raw, I should explain to the listener that Paul Mason wrote a very xenophobic, a very racist towards the Chinese erotic novel, I believe called Rare Earth.
Yeah, Rare Earth.
It's just fantastic. Just seek it out, read it. You're not going to believe what you're reading.
He grabbed her hair. I've just taken 2,000 milligrams of man's treasure, so my little brother is good for 90 minutes before he even thinks about ejaculation. Your cunt will be raw.
I've had 200 milligrams. My brother will. I don't remember. He's going. I've got 200 milligrams, so my brother will be going for 4 hours. Your cunt will be. He's talking about popping Viagra and splitting some girl's cunt.
Balls and shaft.
Now we go to the car and have anal sex. If you don't obey me, I will take you to the camel farm and leave you with those guys all night.
My balls.
Paul Mason, he's the former economics editor of BBC Newsnight. He's a serious business.
I've had serious people recommend me his takes years ago.
He was a mainstay during Corbynism. He was seen as the academic light of the left. He has advised Keir Starmer for fucking like 7 years, well before Keir Starmer became leader of the Labour Party. He has been advising Keir Starmer.
Your cunt will be raw.
Paul Mason, he's a hilarious moron from Lee. He's a massive NATO shagger. He famously made a Guardian video of the left-wing case for nuclear weapons. He wants the UK to go to war with what he calls, I believe, Krink, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea.
I mean, he's a NATO hawk, isn't he?
Yeah. I believe he is employed by
MI6. I mean, he tries to get recruited by them.
Yeah, he does a BAE Systems podcast, which is funded about NATO. He does a BAE Systems podcast funded by NATO. That's the type of guy he is, and he is constantly on his hands and knees begging to be a spy of MI6. I don't know if they've granted his wish yet. Paul Mason famous shat in a fountain at Labour conference a few years ago, trying to impress junior delegates of the Labour Party. Maybe it was the world transformed, but he certainly shat in a fountain after smoking spice. Yeah, he got spiced off his tits and he shat in a fountain to impress Aaron Bastani. and Scroungers podcast has had their eye turned to Paul Mason this week because in the Times, we have got a unique, hitherto unheard perspective on one of my greatest moments of the last 10 years, which is when Paul Mason fell for a phishing email, and had the contents of his mailbox released, I believe, largely through Kit Clarenberg at the Grey Zone, and it was everything I ever wanted and more. The star prize of Paul Mason's emails was a spider diagram that linked all of these large players in the geopolitical landscape: China, Russia, Iran, with these increasingly trivial Labour Party figures, these increasingly trivial internet figures: Jeremy Corbyn, Richard Burton MP, Novara Media, Scottish nationalism, the Muslim community, the black community. There's even there's one node on his spider diagram that is just campists, and it's not connected to anything. It's just by itself, lonely, orphaned in the bottom left. Basically, for the audience, for the folks at home, Paul Mason, a mainstay in the British left. I think about Paul Mason all day, every day.
Every day, I love him to bits. He's the best.
He's an insane person.
He's a fucking maniac.
Evidently, he had fallen for a phishing email, and he had been emailing, people from the Foreign Office, people from MI6, Keir Starmer, all of these insane schizophrenic diagrams, these insane schizophrenic spider graphs, linking XYZ to 1, 2, 3, and it was largely in pursuit of making the British left support Ukraine in the Russia-Ukraine war, and it was nonsense. It was complete nonsense. Paul Mason dismissed it as a Russian hack and leak operation at the time, and he never denied nor authenticated its validity. But Paul Mason had just been emailing everyone in and around MI6, all of this hodgepodge guerrilla intelligence, and begging them to become a spy for MI6. I love that video of him on Novara Media where he's talking about Pizzagate and he says, child sex ring.
Hillary Clinton was running a child sex ring from a pizza restaurant.
Yeah.
Such an inappropriate intonation.
Yes.
It's just so lyrical. Hillary Clinton was running a child sex ring. It is just way too much. But this week, nonetheless, in the Times, they have been variously serialising a new book about Sir Keir Rodney Starmer's rise. And we got perhaps the perfect capstone to what was already a Mason masterclass. I'll read headline: Russians suspected of compromising Keir Starmer's personal email. Starmer's account was compromised shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine in April 2022. Russian operatives hacked the email accounts of British Eurosceptics, including Sir Richard Dearlove, the former chief of MI6. Starmer was told that his personal email had been hacked. Although there was no evidence that the emails had been published, services could not guarantee that sensitive information had not been stolen. More than 20,000 emails were later leaked online. Paul Mason, the left-wing commentator and former BBC journalist, who had a mutual friend with Dearlove, also had his email compromised. At the time, Mason was informally advising John Healey, the Shadow Defence Secretary, on Russia and industrial policy. Mason, who was in Ukraine days before the invasion, sent briefings to Healey via intermediaries to Lord Robertson of Port Ellen, the former NATO Secretary-General, and to Starmer, whose 2020 leadership campaign he had helped plan. The hackers chose not to publish Mason's emails, but downloaded his contacts and sent fake messages with sophisticated malware to other Labour figures. One was an invitation to a July 4th reception at the American Embassy. Another invited Starmer, Healey, Yvette Cooper, then the Shadow Home Secretary, to a Zoom meeting. Senior advisors from the Labour leader's office were briefed on the hack at the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is part of GCHQ. His account contained detailed correspondence from Healey, which, though of limited intelligence value, would have provided insights into Labour's thinking on defence. Paul Mason fell for an email that said, local MILFs in your area want to know what you're up to, and it resulted in the entirety of the British now government having all of their emails hacked. And despite downloading all of Paul Mason's emails and his emails to his friend, the former chief of MI6, they found limited intelligence value from any of them, because Paul Mason hasn't got a fucking clue what he's talking about.
Well, that escalated quickly.
But it is very funny to me that the FSB, GIU, whatever it is, the Russian intelligence agencies are aware of Keir Starmer's myriad affairs, because
I mean, they're going to.
The most basic phishing email in the world. Paul Mason used to be the technology editor of fucking Newsnight. How does he fall for that? I just thought it was funny that they said it was of low intelligence value.
It was of low intelligence value.
20,000 emails between Paul Mason and the head of MI6, and it's all just bollocks because Paul Mason is fucking clueless. Well, I'll sign off here. I just thought that would be a fun one. I thought it'd be a lighter note to end the pilot episode rather than all the nonces and the pedos and the blood sucking and all of that. But you know, I think we did okay. And
I think we had a good time. I think it was really good.
And
I had a fantastic time. I loved it.
I had a fantastic time, Jacob. And you know, to the audience, I mean, just bear with us. You know, I can promise you one thing. This is going to be a show that you will want to listen to, that you'll need to listen to. It's going to be electric, and it probably won't sound or be structured like this in the future. It's going to be fluid. It's going to be dynamic.
Yeah, it'll be flexible.
This is the show that Britain is gagging for.
It is.
The world is gagging for, and you know. So thank you to everybody who made the whole way, who is listening right now. We will be releasing new episodes periodically. Fuck knows what our schedule is. Maybe we'll even have more hosts. There'll be premium episodes and there'll be free episodes, and check out our Patreon whenever that goes live. But rest assured, there will be countless incredible guests, and we will be exploring countless topics of increasingly niche British political trivia, analysed at excruciating detail, and, maybe just a laugh or two in the future. So, I have been, and I am, your host, Eyup Lovely, and I'm joined, as ever, by the hapless
homo.
Jacob
Let me
Venom
try it again.
Snake.
Hapless homo, Jacob Venom Snake,
The hapless homo, Jacob Venom Snake.
Yeah, of course. Hapless homo, Jacob Venom Snake.
And you have been listening to Scroungers, an audio program, a view from the sewers. Goodbye.
You want to fuck me in a hotel room? You like younger girl? I can find. Hey, you speak English? Lee laughed, and it felt like a hydraulic drill inside his chest was doing the laughing. Soon they were cuddling, nose to nose, each appearing to each other in that weird perspective lovers achieve that makes the other look like a giant ant. I'm also a bit traditional, he said. She forced herself to run her fingertips along his balls and shaft. Ha! He grabbed her hair. I've just taken 2,000 milligrams of man's treasure so my little brother is good for 90 minutes before he even thinks about ejaculation. Your cunt will be raw.